Hi everybody, welcome to Shiver Speaks. Today we're doing a movie review of the new movie Heretic that came out this past Friday, November 9th, I believe. And I have some really awesome, great thoughts on this movie. So skip to the end if you just want to hear the rating, otherwise we'll kind of walk through the story. So this really begins with Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton. They're both sisters, sort of nuns of the Mormon faith. And they're going door to door to all of these people who have essentially said yes to a newsletter and said they are interested in hearing the word of Jesus Christ. So they go to this guy's door, Mr. Reed, and this is played by Hugh Grant, which is why a lot of people are talking about this movie, but regardless. So Hugh Grant, Mr. Reed, opens the door. Sister Paxton, Sister Barnes are at the door, and they say, "Are you interested in learning about the word of our Jesus Christ?" He says, "Of course, I'm always interested in learning more about religion. Please come in." So they kind of put up walls before they go inside. They said they have to have a woman present. He says, "My wife is in the kitchen. It's no problem. I'll go get her. Make yourselves at home and make yourselves comfortable." So in the meantime, he says, "This house is full of metal. I hope that you're okay with that." They don't really say anything about it. They're just like, "Yeah, whatever." They go inside, and now is when the movie really kind of kicks into place, which is great because this is the first 5 minutes. So we're already in the setting that we need to be. There's not too much buildup of that. So long story short, there is no wife, of course. And he says, "My wife is making blueberry pie in the oven. Can't you smell it?" And then he comes out with a tray with water and a candle, and of course the candle itself is a blueberry pie candle. So they already kind of know that they're being tricked. Sister Barnes is played by Sophie Thatcher, who's the girl from Yellow Jackets. She kind of plays that same sort of character, like very, I don't want to say tough, but like she knows how to survive. She has the survival instincts. She has common sense. And so she sees the candle after he walks away for a second. And she's like, "We gotta go." Sister Paxton is kind of painted as this dumb blonde of sorts, very ditzy, follows anything that Sister Barnes says. So it's kind of off the bat that we know who's going to be taking charge here. So Sister Barnes, Sophie Thatcher, she's like, "Tell him that we called someone." They try to call someone. There's no service. There's no service because the house is made of metal, which means that you won't get any service. They try to open the front door. The front door is locked. There's no windows that they can fit through. So they're kind of like, "All right, let's just feel it out and play it out." In the meantime, he took their jackets, which has their bike lock key in the pocket of Sophie Thatcher's, of Sister Barnes's jacket. So they know they have to go confront him again and at least get their jackets because it's miles away from the road and where they need to be. So they need their bikes. So it's storming pretty badly outside. They go and they find him, and he's like, basically, "I'll give you options, and I'll give you the choice of leaving or not. So let's see how much you believe in your faith." And takes them into this room that looks like a mini chapel, but it's very cool. So he has basically a library of textbooks behind him and around him, all about different theologies, different folklore, different religions, different deities, everything. He basically goes on this rant of saying that he has done everything he can to learn about all religions, to figure out what the true one answer, the one religion is. And he's like, "Tonight, I basically challenge you to see if your religion, if your faith will reward you with answers for that. If you actually believe that your faith is the one true faith, then I ask that you follow that." So he's like, "Everything that you've heard tonight, I like to say that I'm a man of my word, but I did lie to you. Like, I have no wife. There is no woman around. So if you believe now that I'm telling the truth, even though I didn't 2 seconds ago, go down this door of belief. This is the door that will take you out of my house, and I'll leave you alone. If you don't believe me, and you realize that there is more to question and that it's important to question people, go down the door of disbelief and basically start our game." So either way, one of these doors will take you out to the outside, and I won't kidnap you, I won't keep you, anything like that. So they go back and forth, they have a chit chat, they pick up their jackets, and in Sister Paxton's pocket now is the key for their bike lock, not in Sister Barnes. So we already know that he's gone through their jackets. So they decide to go down one of the doors. It doesn't matter because they end up in the same place in this basement. So both doors go to the same place. They go into the basement. They're trying to escape. They move these tables and chairs. They're trying to climb up on this ladder. This piece of wood falls down with nails in it, which of course is foreshadowing for later. And then there's this woman who is very, very, very scary. And she comes out from the shadows. And so Mr. Reed is basically like, here's your first challenge of the night. I, in front of you, have a prophet of God. And I want you to be able to tell me if seeing really is believing. I'm going to show you that this woman is going to eat poison. I did bake her an actual blueberry pie. However, it is full of poison. So please don't try to eat it after her. And once she eats this, she's going to die, and you're going to see her be resurrected back to life. So this whole time, I understand the actual reality of it. Sister Paxton and Sister Barnes are like, people are coming in looking for us. Like, we do have a route. Like, somebody's going to be coming. So they're not really listening fully to what he's saying, even though everything that's coming out of his mouth is gold, basically. But so there is that survival aspect. So they don't really pay too much attention to what he says. They watch this lady, the prophet, kind of get into a ball on the ground and say all these things in a different language. And then she gets up and she walks over to the blueberry pie and she eats it. And then, of course, collapses. So right in that moment, the doorbell rings and it's their pastor from their church. They run up the stairs as Mr. Reed locks it behind him. He goes and answers and basically says, no, they never showed up here. Good luck finding them. He hid their bikes, so there's no evidence that they did even show up there. So the pastor leaves, no problem. All the while, the girls are at the top of the steps, and now they're trying to get matches out from underneath the door. So this whole time, the basement is empty, besides now this dead lady. So they go back downstairs after they hear him come close. They have matches now. So they're trying to kind of like start a fire, start a smoke signal, anything, because there is just one window out of the basement. So they look back at this woman and she's tilted and she's moved a little bit differently than she was before. And then they see her wake up. So he basically says, aren't you amused? Aren't you surprised? Like, she's alive. This is the word of God, the prophet of God. And this lady goes over to Sister Paxton, says all of these really random things. And then at the end, she said, this is not real, in a very normal voice. So we know that there's something more going on. So I'll fast forward in terms of details, but we go back and forth, tit for tat, of what do you believe? What is your point? And Mr. Reed believes that if he kills them and brings them back to life, then they will be able to give him answers and give themselves answers as to what they've seen. So all the while, Sister Barnes is there. She has a t-shirt on and she has a little scar on her arm. So they get into an argument. And of course, Sister Barnes this entire time has been the survival one. And he just slits her throat. He kills her right then and there, which is absolutely, it takes you by insane surprise. So then he goes on this rant to Sister Paxton, who we have seen be this very ditzy blonde, and basically says, everything that you've seen here tonight is a question of your faith, and let me even show you this for your own sister. And he takes out this like metal rod from her arm, and he's like, here's another theory for you, simulation theory. You know, she's not going to be able to be brought back to life because she has this piece of metal in her, and so she's basically a robot. And so Sister Paxton's like, no, she's not a robot. Like, that's birth control. And he was like, well, if that's birth control, then how much do you think that she actually believed in your faith and followed the rules and did everything that she was supposed to be doing? So again, questioning and questioning and questioning, which is really fun and really cool. So he's like, if you really didn't believe in the prophet, tell me how this all happened. So then her observation skills really get put into play. And she's like, well, when we all ran upstairs, I bet that you somehow, some way moved this body. that we would be distracted by the sound of the pastor ringing the doorbell. So somebody came in here, swapped the bodies, and kind of carried on with your magic trick. So she's like, I wonder if there's another hatch in here. So he's like, go ahead and look. Lo and behold, she finds a hatch in the ground, and his magic trick is busted. So all of these things go to show that everything that he's saying is part of this very large plan. He knew that he was going to kill Sister Barnes because he put the key to the bike lock in Sister Paxton's pocket. So she goes through all of these other, I don't want to say tests, but trials in a way. And at the end comes face to face with him and all of these women in cages. And he's like, let me tell you what the actual religion is. It is control. You are going door to door, essentially selling your product because somebody told you to. This is no different than somebody going door to door as a salesperson. Like, this is all about control. Somebody told you to believe in this religion, and so you did. Somebody told you to go door to door, and so you did. You believed in that person more than anything else. So it's a very, very, very good question of faith. It's a very good movie of analyzing the why behind everything, and also analyzing the stereotypes of people, because then Sister Paxton is the one who really sort of gets out. So we end the movie by him stabbing her stabbing him, and then Sister Barnes is still alive in the basement and smacks him in the back of the head with that floorboard that fell loose before. Sister Paxton, in the very beginning, said that if she were to die and come back, she would always want to come back as a butterfly and land on somebody's finger, so that it would be absolutely uncanny that it would be her, because it would be on a fingertip. So she walks out the front door after this whole ordeal. Her stomach is stabbed. She's in pain, and a butterfly falls on her first finger. So then it goes to question of, is she dead? Is she haunting herself essentially? Did she make it out alive? What one of these religions is true? And what is reality essentially? So it's just perfect. I loved this movie. I love movies and things like that around the questioning of religion. I do think that this movie was a little bit slower than I would have liked it to be. Because again, you have the actual common sense of survival, of somebody's going to be coming for us, like, please don't do this, please don't do this. So I would have liked them to kind of give in to him a little bit more, of just like, yeah, we'll play your game. Like, we'll show you that our religion is the one. But it was more about survival. So I do have an appreciation for the truth on that side of things. But yeah, I mean, I absolutely loved it. I think that the casting was phenomenal. I think Hugh Grant, Sophie Thatcher, even the woman who played Sister Paxton, she's really not been in much, but she did a great job of playing ditzy and then being smart. So the setting itself as well, all being in his house, a nice centralized location. We don't have any elements of supernatural. This is just people, which is my favorite thing to talk about, my favorite thing to watch. So I really cannot say enough good things about this movie. I am very appreciative that this has come out, because it really gives a lot of hope and faith for horror movies going forward, because I think we've seen a lot of really bad ones last year, this year, even the last couple of years. So as it stands right now, this movie has a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. This is, I mean, I would give it a 5 out of 5, a 10 out of 10. I absolutely loved this movie. I would have liked to see a little bit faster pace and a little bit more of that gameplay of your choices, but those are really the only two things that I would have changed. So let me know your thoughts on this movie in the comments. I know this review is a little bit longer than normal, but I hope you enjoyed this movie. I hope you enjoyed this movie review, and hopefully we have some more bangers coming soon. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.